Great marks start here. Enhance your education with MTN Online School, an online curriculum-aligned learning platform that aims to improve the delivery of education for learners and educators. It provides CAPS-aligned content, allowing learners from grade R to 12 to access quality educational support material online. It is also suitable for second chance matric learners. MTN Online School prioritizes the education of all learners, granting them an opportunity to upskill and expand their capabilities. The platform is available on all networks and it's free for MTN users. Remember, learners under the age of 18 will require parental consent to access the platform. To access MTN Online School, open any browsing platform and visit www.mtnonlineschool.co.za using a phone, laptop or tablet. And don't forget, it's free to use on the MTN network. At your convenience, everywhere you go, navigate the platform and find all the tools that are helpful for your education. Engage with the platform and allow it to guide you. Use it wisely to surf around and discover new learning material that can be useful to your education. Click on a quiz or two provided by the portal to help you revise, test your knowledge, and prepare for tests and exams. Track your achievements and milestones reached after every learning session. Utilize the platform and allow it to test your educational strength and weaknesses to ensure that you're always at your best. Great marks start here. To register, go to www.mtnonlineschool.co.za using a tablet, cell phone or computer. The power is in your hands. Register now and get the best education with MTN Online School.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to this virtual event brought to you by MTN South Africa. My name is Gugulethu Mfuphi, and I am ecstatic to have you join us this morning for a profound announcement that certainly looks to shape, change, and evolve the landscape of education in South Africa. We're well aware that following the pandemic that we've experienced in the last 18 months, that there's been a concerted effort to focus on our most critical resource, our people. And how do we ensure that our people are active, ably skilled, and of course able to innovate and shape the economy that we want to live in? Well, the best way to do so is by investing in education. And today we'll take a look at just exactly how government, in collaboration with the private sector, look to advance and increase access to quality education for all. We're quite excited to have you here with us today, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the launch of the MTN Online School. Welcome to the future of education.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Well, as you can tell, I'm not alone here in studio, and we have a few key stakeholders who have been actively involved in the establishment and the launch of the MTN Online School. So we do want to remind you, as our viewers who are joining us from all walks of life in all different locations, that whilst we are in studio, we have been cognizant of maintaining all COVID-19 protocols here in studio today. But allow me to welcome my guests who will be giving us some more insight into the MTN Online School and, of course, the critical role that education does continue to play within our society. I'd like to introduce my first guest, the Honourable Minister for Basic Education, Minister Angie Motshekga.
No, thank you very much for having me.
A great pleasure to have you. Thank you. Next to me is Godfrey Mozler, who is the CEO of MTN South Africa. Good morning, Godfrey.
Morning, Gugulethu. Thank you for hooking us up with this.
Always hooking us up, and thank you for keeping us connected, no doubt. Also joining us in studio is Jackie O'Sullivan, Executive for Corporate Affairs at MTN South Africa. Good to have you with us, Jackie.
Thanks, Gooks. Lovely to see you.
Likewise. And of course, last but certainly not least, a key collaborator in ensuring that this particular launch and online platform has been established today is the Foundation General Manager for MTN South Africa, Kusile Mthunzi Herwadzi. Good to have you with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed.
morning.
Well, I'm quite excited to have all of you with us here today as we will be unpacking more details around the MTN Online School. But this is why we want to welcome you here to the launch of this new virtual platform, which will bring education and a world of opportunity to South Africa's youth. Now, this solution was developed in partnership with the Department of Basic Education and the National Education Collaboration Trust. Now, it is aimed at increasing access to curriculum-aligned education content as endorsed and provided by the Department of Basic Education in South Africa. Now, it specifically speaks to grades between R and 12 and for learners with special education needs using a digital platform. It's well documented that in South Africa, we certainly need to do our best in developing and upskilling our people. So as a country, we need to continue to believe in our future, but also co-create it through these collaborative efforts that will be highlighted here today. Our country certainly needs to accelerate its recovery from the economic and personal devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic, and at the same time, embrace future opportunities for jobs, skills transfer, as well as growth. While MTN aims to continue brightening up lives by enabling connection, driving education solutions, and supporting our communities. This certainly sets the backdrop for today's particular launch, and we're again very excited to have you with us as we hope that you'll continue to spread the message as well with the broader public who will join us at the back of this launch. But let's get into the conversation, right? We're keen, we are eager, we're excited to understand what we gathered here for. And Godfrey, I'd like to start off with you. We know that you and your team have been actively busy keeping us connected through data connectivity, cell phone lines in South Africa. But help us understand why it is that we gathered here today. Why it is that MTN has decided to focus on this investment on the online school.
Thanks a lot, Gugu. Really, the main reason for us, it's the extension of our purpose. At MTN, as you know, we have this core belief that everyone deserves the benefits of a modern connected life. A modern life in the 21st century is a digital life. And we believe with MTN Online School, we are digitizing education. We are busy supplementing the education system. And I just want to say it upfront. This is a supplement to the great work done by all the educators in the education system, which are providing an educational digital platform to enable our learners. So in short, we are extending the digital life to the classroom.
Yeah. It's quite important that you mention that because it is a real extension of the opportunities that do exist here. But there's a buzz here, Jackie, and that's exactly what we want to get into as to what builds up this excitement around the MTN Online School, as it is an extension of what's already been available, but making it more accessible, as Godfrey has highlighted.
Exactly. You know, the notion of the digital transformation has always been so real in our lives. However, the COVID-19 pandemic just accelerated it at a speed and a force that we probably could never have understood or expected. And the change that it's brought about and the speed with which society changed and learners changed has been so remarkable. This is something that MTN has always wanted to do. It was a project that was in the works, but we made sure that we fast-tracked it in order to deliver to meet these current demands.
Oh, help us unpack that a little bit more, because some might assume that this was just exacerbated or rather fast-tracked due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely. You know, Google, we've always said the network has to be so much more than a network. We've built this incredible machine, this amazing network that is by far the best in the country, and it has to be able to add value. It has to actually be able to enhance lives. It's not just about the coverage. It's not just about the speeds you can get. It has to be about how it actually makes people's lives better. So by being able to add something so fundamental to everyone's lives through education, that has always been something that we focused on. It's something that Kusilia and the team at the foundation really focused on. So it was something that we'd always wanted to do. The work was already underway, but when we saw the impact and we saw how learners and your teachers, Minister, were battling, we just said this is something we've got to turn around really quickly so we never have a situation where we have learners disconnected from from their teaching environments.
And speaks to the reality that we certainly have in South Africa. I do want to personalize it slightly, right, and come back to yourself, perhaps, Godfrey, as a parent who might have been with children and, of course, managing being a CEO and a teacher in your own particular time. This really does bring about a solution that is practical as well to many South African households, as you say, by extending that reach to South African households.
Yeah, you actually saw spot on, because what has happened in the COVID era, you find that you still have to do your work, but the kids are no longer going to school, and then you have to supplement that. And most of us parents who have been found wanting, and then we believe that this is actually going to help. But really going to the fundamentals, if you think about the struggle of the youth today, especially in a democratic South Africa, it's about opportunity. And the biggest weapon we can give to the youth to fight and win the battle for opportunities is education. As I say, it's just a digital contribution from our side. And of course, it's going to help us as parents as well, that now we can refer the kid to a video as opposed to you having to solve the equation.
I think there are many parents that would agree with that, right? That make life slightly easier. Minister, I'd like to come to you briefly here on this one, because as we hear Godfrey mentioning again, it is an extension of what currently exists, but just making sure that we enhance the opportunities that students are able to get. Help us unpack how this really does highlight the ongoing collaborative efforts between government and the private sector to make sure that there's a concerted goal to invest in human capital.
No, it's very key. I mean, we always say in education that on our own, we will not be able to carry the responsibility of raising our children. I mean, with education, it's typical translation of that it takes a village to raise a child. And when the private sector comes to the fore, it really brings all the villagers to join hands with us to say, indeed, let's work together. There are things we can do. There's a pace at which we can move, but the private sector brings additional capacity, expertise, and skills, and really help us, give us the necessary speed, impetus, but also the know-how, which is not necessarily resident in education. So it really does help us a lot in raising, as villagers, raising these children that are in our hands. And for me, it's really heartening to see the private sector, South African business coming to the fore to say, we are part of this village.
Exactly.
We have our own. Let's join hands. And
Indeed.
It's really encouraging and heartening.
Beautiful reminder again of that sense of Ubuntu as well as cultural unity that we like to experience in South Africa. But I think for many of you who might be watching, you wondering, how does this platform work, right? And how exactly is it going to be implemented in some of our schools? Well, we recently had one of our colleagues, Lunigu Hlumelo Nqini, visit Ruta Setshaba Secondary School, school as well, which is very aptly named, as it actually means educating or teaching the nation. And here we actually had our guest share some insight as to first-hand experience as to how this multimedia center actually works. Luni, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Gugu. I'm so excited to be here today at Ruta Setshaba Secondary School to see how this platform will impact the lives of these learners. It's an historic day, but not only for today at this school, for schools all over South Africa. We'll catch up with some of the learners, have a look at how this will help them in their studies, but also earlier we linked up with Mr. Motsitsi, who showed us how he incorporates this platform in his classroom and how the registration process works.
Good day and welcome to Ruta Setshaba Secondary School in Everton North. I am Mr. Motsitsi, the Computer Applications Technology teacher. Ruta Setshaba has 1,686 learners with an educator staff of 36. We have been privileged to be chosen by MTN in their interest to address education and learning needs of the 21st century. They've built us a computer center where our learners can first-hand experience ICT tools. But furthermore, they've evolved in their project by ensuring that they create an e-learning platform that will aid the teachers and the learners with content that is CARE aligned, such as videos, questions, live streaming, and tutor support. Today, we will be crossing live to a Physical Science Grade 11 live streaming session. Learners, we are about to view our Physical Sciences live session. But before we do that, we need to be able to register for the www.mtn.co.za mtnonlineschool.co.za. So in order for us to be able to register, we need to visit the website, and then once we are at the web page, we need to be able to access the link below that says new to MTN Online School, and then we click on the register here link, and then it will direct us to where we are going to register. Once we have registered for physical sciences, we can therefore go on our top left-hand side, and there we will find our menu button. We click on the menu button, and then we go to calendar, click on calendar, and then when our calendar has opened, we look for our live session, and then once we find our physics live session, we therefore click join, then we will enjoy our live broadcast.
How refreshing. I recall a time when I was in school and having any kind of technological device was not allowed. But here we are in a world where this is actually what we use to interact and learn and have access again to online educational platforms. So clearly shows that the Multimedia Center at Ruta Setšhaba Secondary School is quite impressive. And this is certainly something that does need to be duplicated across to many other schools, as we know that there's a lack of that access in South Africa. I guess, Godfrey, to come back to you here, how is it that MTN is positioning itself to ensure that these kind of opportunities to access that kind of multimedia center will be spread across and enhanced across other schools in South Africa?
Yeah. So what we basically do is we make sure that our responsibility goes beyond just the infrastructure and monetizing it. We also make sure it is accessible, because with all due respect, we have the capacity, especially to help the less fortunate, of course, to a specific extent. And one of the things we have in South Africa, we've got more than 20 million smartphones, people with smartphones. And we have a network that covers more than 96% of the population. So whether you're in Lusikisiki, or whether you're in Sentin, or whether you're in practice here, all these sometimes forgotten corners of the country, the POSA network is basically there. So when Jackie and Gusile and all the team say we are zero rating this, meaning it is free, then it becomes accessible in all these areas. So in our strategy, we'll continue pushing digital, basically aggressively, because we believe that we reach people much quicker. Of course, the physical infrastructure as well, like the multimedia centers we continue to build in the country, we'll continue doing that. And of course, we need more spectrum, so we can cover more people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're well aware that that is a battle that continues at the moment, but I think quite refreshing that you also mentioned that important element that it is zero rated though for MTN subscribers, right? But opening up that access and not restricting it regardless of what the landscape looks like where people are subscribed. Would that be correct? Yeah, it is zero rated. As long as you've got the yellow SIM card, it is very zero rated. The yellow SIM card is practically available everywhere in the country. It hardly costs more than R1. Yeah. So the key thing, you need your smartphone, you need to visit you have to click on www.mtnonlineschool.co.za, and then you're in the game. Yeah. Exactly. Kusile, I'm keen to get you into the conversation. We've kept you quiet for way too long. And I'm keen to understand how it is that we identify schools like Ruta Setšhaba and many others who might have that opportunity to access these multimedia centers while still keeping it open for individuals and companies to actually access the platform itself.
So I think for MTN it has been very easy. Our partnership with government has stretched for many years. I think since I joined MTN 2010, they were already in partnership with government. I think what we identify is as a key partner and as a partner that is custodian of education, they normally guide us into the spaces that we should occupy. We look at their strategy. What is government trying to do in the space of education, and how can we facilitate? And we've known over and over that ICT is an enabler, so we've made it possible for government to say, you are the custodians of education. We have ICT that can complement the infrastructure that's there. In the last few years, we've been using multimedia centers as the platforms to get access to ICT. But the realization of driving access to broader communities beyond brick and mortar is one of the reasons that have made us to get into a space of saying, let every child, even at home, access education, and there's no better way of doing it than this one.
And that's important, the access at home as well, or different platforms, as long as you're able to register, right, Jackie?
That's right. You know, Gugulethu, we build these magnificent multimedia centers, which are wonderful. But during a pandemic, we suddenly realized they were shuttered up. They were closed, nobody could access them. And that, you know, hence the need for us to drive this with really speed and agility. But the interesting thing that we've observed with the work that Kusile and the team do actually on the ground in communities is that these 20 million smartphones that Godfrey referred to that are on the MTN network, you know, every parent has just one desire in their life. I think it's the one universal wish of every parent or every aunt or uncle is that their nephew or niece or child will have a better life than they did. And that fundamental human insight really informs the fact that parents will make their devices available. And that's what we see. We don't, we obviously there's a push to put smartphones in people's hands because that's really where the world is at. That's how you get access to the economy. But by making sure that we can zero rate the site, we know that parents will say, take my phone, do the work, gather with your cousins, do the collaborative learning. And the power of this is just so extraordinary. This is what, for me, was just one of the most exciting things, is that we can take the best of the best. We can take the best public school teacher who does grade 10 maths, and we can take the best biology, human sciences teacher from the most expensive private school in the country.
And that opportunity and access is open and available.
And that they are there. We can have the best of the best teaching our students all the time. We have teachers who are now in a position to be able to say, you know what, I actually am going to use a tutor for this session because I've seen this incredible video. I'm going to use that. Then afterwards, we're going to do our test in the classroom using the system, and I have immediate access to where the sticking points are. So if there are 4 areas being looked at, and 2 of them are completely cool, everyone's passing and everyone's doing well, the teacher has immediate understanding. I don't have to go back to that. They've got that, we can move on to the others. So the power of actually putting more support into the hands of the teachers to make it easier for them to teach, and hopefully then making it easier for the learners to learn, is extraordinary. And I love the notion of being able to flatten access. You don't have to be able to afford 350,000 Rand school fees. If we can make sure that we're getting the best of the best from public and from private, all coming together. And working together in a collaborative way, not just the learners, but the teachers too.
Exactly. Collaborative efforts is what I'm hearing again, as you say, from the various educators who are able to share this information. And it's quite interesting, Jackie, that you've highlighted how it is that these students can actually learn from various educators through logging onto the platform, watching different videos. And this really gives us some insight as to how we want to experience or what this particular platform looks like, right? So perhaps let's take a look, going back to Ruta Setšhaba High School, to really get some insight as to what a session in the actual multimedia classroom really does look like.
A change is a difference in energy. So we've already calculated that for the reactants, we have a value of 2,239 kilojoules, and for the water, we have a value which is 1,852. This is energy which is released. So if we find the difference, we could say 2,239, subtract, because that's the difference, 1,852. And we end up with an answer here of 387 kilojoules per mole. If we consider this energy for formation of water to be negative, which fits in right there, negative, then that will be the correct answer. It's going to be a positive answer. If we use our reasoning to look at this, we can see that the energy that is absorbed is greater than the energy that is released. And so we would have to get a positive answer for this enthalpy change, the overall change in enthalpy. We've spoken about bond energy, and now we're going to move on to energy profiles. Before we do that, we need to brush up our knowledge on the law of conservation of energy. Remember that energy cannot be created or destroyed, and so this is not energy that we are conjuring up. Okay, it comes from somewhere and it will be transformed into something else. Right, so if we have a look at our mind map, our overview, we are now going to have a look at what is an energy profile and how does that look when we specifically are looking at different types of reactions.
How many of you had a flashback of your chemistry class back in high school, huh? Well, I think we all did. We were actively looking at the screen and trying to work around the calculations as well. But we did remember some themes around energy, right? Never destroyed, never created, but always transferred, I think. But I think this really does show us and elaborate on just exactly how interactive the platform is and engaging that it is. If it could have grab our attention, it really does speak to how practical it actually is for the students themselves. And Minister, I'd like to come back to you here because this is a beautiful and clear example of, again, the collaborative efforts, increase to access, and of course partnerships that have been highlighted by your fellow panelists earlier on this morning. But help us understand, from the context of the Department of Basic Education, what the broader image and view is regarding the vision for quality education in South Africa, and how this is just one particular model that fits into that vision.
Now, this is massive, massive. I mean, if you look at the reach and the strategy, because indeed before COVID-19, as education, we were quite conscious of the importance of ICTs in education. I always make the example of a school in the Vaal where the results were just terrible. But there was this one child who was a top learner when I was in MEC. And how she became a top learner, she stayed in the science lab. She self-taught herself.
During lockdown?
No.
Previously.
When I was MEC.
Oh, yes,
So
yes.
I've always been convinced that with ICTs, teachers have a backup. They have a colleague assisting them. Children also have a medium which is their medium. So it's not the adult voice, but it's a different voice that brings variety. But it also helps them to move at the pace because it's easier. They see, they touch, they even interact with their hands. So they learn through different senses. So it's just quite great and massive, and it's indeed going to bring the necessary change that we need, especially now after the disruptions we've had from COVID. So it's clear we're going to be able to build back better. We're going to be able to reboot our system through the system here. So for me, it's extremely exciting and really creates lots of hope with this devastation that we've had to go through in the education space. And this will make a huge difference and will really be very meaningful to the work that we do.
Indeed. Certainly looking to make more of a difference. Well, I guess we touched on the chemistry lesson that we were all participating in, and maybe we can go back there now to Ruta Setšhaba Secondary School, where the lesson will be wrapping up, and this will really give us some insight as to how it is that the students who are absorbing this information in the Multimedia Center, and even those who log on online, might be able to still continue to interact with the various educators that they are taught by. Let's take a look.
You are given a balanced equation, or even an equation that is not balanced. You have to find out whether it is going to be an exothermic or an endothermic reaction using the table of bond energies. So you are going to do it exactly like we did it before. You can either use the energy of formation as a negative value. You can plug it in, or you can use your head, your reasoning, and you can find the difference in the bond energy of the reactants and the bond energy of the products. In other words, you're finding the change in enthalpy, and if the one is greater than the other, you will know that it is that kind of reaction. So if it's positive, it is going to be an endothermic reaction taking in energy, and if it is a negative value, it's going to be an exothermic reaction, releasing energy to the environment. Right, grade 11s, we are wrapping up this lesson. We are going to take questions on the MTN Online School from learners from the Rita Sechaba Secondary School who are joining us online. We are going to cross over to them now and see what they are up to.
Is that a question, Bosiso?
Yes, sir. Could you explain bond energy again?
There is a live tutor that is standing by to answer your questions, Bosiso. All you have to do is click on the messaging icon on the platform. Then you will be able to type in your question and you will receive an answer.
Sibusiso, that's a great question. So bond energy is the amount of energy needed to break bonds of reactants and the energy that is released when new products are formed. I hope that helps you. Let's see if there is another question coming up.
Katleo, is that a question?
Yes, sir. How do we calculate change in enthalpy?
So let us type then our question on the platform.
Katlejo, this is a great question about enthalpy. So how do we calculate enthalpy? It is the difference in the energy of the reactants and the energy of the products. If the difference is a negative number, then we know that it's an exothermic reaction. If the difference is a positive number, then we know that it's an endothermic reaction. Right, I think we have time for just one more question.
Togozo?
Sir, I also have a question. What is a catalyst and what role does it play in a chemical reaction?
Ntukoso, I love this question. This is about catalysts. Yes, a catalyst is a substance, a chemical substance that does not react in the reaction, but it does this really strange thing. It gives an alternate route for the activation energy. So it actually lowers the activation energy and the reaction reaches the end point faster. So it's really useful in industry because it makes more money because the reaction happens faster. I hope that helps you. Thank you for all your amazing questions. They've been really enlightening. And I hope to see you on the next one, the consolidation lesson, where we go over questions and you can see how to solve the problems. Thank you, grade 11. See you later.
Well, who would have thought, right, that the answers are just a quick chat and a sentence away by interacting with the educators online? I'm blown away. I certainly think that if this was around when I was younger, or perhaps even, throughout Access, it would have certainly changed our life in terms of access to education and understanding key themes a lot better. But Godfrey, you had an interesting question about exams, hey, and this platform. Can we sneak it in? Sneak your tablet into the session? I'm teasing.
She
the
says
minister,
open, only if it's an open book.
Only if it's open book.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the learners will try that, Minister. But Kusile, to come back to you, I think what we've really seen is that this is quite a practical platform, right? Specifically for the learners and the educators. But help us understand how MTN Foundation is looking to invest in this going forward, because it certainly does need to grow and evolve from what we've seen here today.
I think I need to start off by saying this is the first and a journey that MTN has embarked on. It's going to be a long journey because we want to take this beyond South Africa. I think it's something that the company can do because we are in Africa after all. But as an investment, I think for the next 3 years we've committed to investing at least We'll split the 12 million in the 3 years, but over and above, we'll be upgrading it. We'll be partnering with other partners that have content that we may need. But more than anything, we'll invest in teacher support. We'll also invest in curriculum digitizing. So we still have a lot to look at as far as the platform is concerned, because we want to define it as a world-class platform, and it has to fit the bill of a world-class platform. We will continue to support government in this initiative because it's a key imperative for our learners. We want our learners to really benefit a lot and become better citizens in the future.
And the tools and the devices that they've been using, is that also part of the contribution that MTN Foundation is making?
As part of our support in driving the usage and access, we have set aside a budget that will say how many can we distribute per year. For instance, this year I think we've distributed well over 1,000, 2,000 tablets already, just in the different with the different provinces that we've partnered with. But we'll continue investing in that space because not many children can get the tablet or the iPad. So we'll invest in communities, and I think we are very clear that this is for for disadvantaged communities, because a lot of our town schools all have parents that have a gadget or two. But in certain areas where the gadgets are not there, we'll always invest in that space because they need them more.
Definitely. And as Jackie mentioned, it's about improving that access, so getting the teachers involved, getting the parents involved as well to buy into this particular platform and to understand the access that it offers. But also the teachers. And Minister, this has often been, I guess, a key question as to how do we get the educators not only comfortable with the digital platform itself, but the use of technology. From a government point of view, are there certain areas of investment that are taking place there with your partners?
You'll be surprised at the innovation and creativity of our teachers. It's been surprising. I mean, even myself, some of the things I've seen in schools, I didn't expect it from the sector the way I would have known it before. With the COVID, there was just so much innovation coming originally from schools, teachers using whatever resources they have, having your WhatsApp groups for teachers. So I'm really encouraged. I think we have a very innovative cohort of teachers. I boast about the teaching awards for this year.
Yes.
The top maths teachers in the country. The top was 31 years old. The second top maths teacher was 29 years old.
Okay.
The top, it's in the country, in the national awards, was a 27-year-old. So we have a very fresh cohort of very active, very happy young people that I'm sure they're going to be very happy to run with us. So I'm not even bothered about teachers, but also the older teachers are energized by this. I'm told they're actually better ICT teachers than new teachers. So it's really changing the space and making our environment happy. So I'm quite confident that teachers, after training, after we give them the gadgets, they'll run with it, because with this, you have a colleague. If I was a teacher, I would be happy to have a colleague, to have a collaborator, to have support. So you're not on your own as a teacher. You have really people to support you through this platform. So it should be very exciting for them.
I think that takes away those jokes about those born before technology and millennials who are coming on board, because it's becoming simpler for everyone, right, to live in this digital age.
No, they're enjoying it because the older teachers are very confident with their content, with experience. So they're not. So if they just get used to the gadgets, they're more comfortable than young teachers who are still trying to get used to the content in the classroom and the methodology. So they complement each other.
Indeed.
What we're really trying to do is to take the experience into a world that young people already know. So we know that young people are using multiple platforms. They are going to be on Instagram. They're going to be on TikTok. They're going to be some of them will be on Twitter. Few of them will be on Facebook because apparently that's where old people go. But like us. But I think the main thing is that it's an ecosystem, an ICT ecosystem that we all work within, but that the kids seem so comfortable to move seamlessly through. So the notion of setting up WhatsApp groups during lockdown was certainly there. We're seeing that from an IOBA perspective, this platform will be available through IOBA. So again, that's an additional gig of data a day. So, kids are naturally keen to organize themselves into environments that work for them. I'm fascinated by every school we go into. We find young people who come on weekends completely on their own accord. They have organized themselves, and this for me is this incredibly powerful tool that we're giving them to say, go for it, go and organize yourselves. You don't just use it as an individual, you can use it as part of a team, and it's I think, it really, for me, it's a massive groundbreaking day.
Exactly.
I think for me what is more important is I think we have made it an inclusive platform. It also caters for learners with disabilities. And it's important that they don't get neglected as part of our society. So the platform will also carry on to be enhanced for the learners with various disciplines of disability. And we're excited about, because we've always invested in that space, we want to uphold that position in the space.
And and they communicate across provinces. So you find kids in Cape Town, top learners communicating with top learners in Mpumalanga, and forming a whole network of top learners working together. And that's also one exciting thing, from different schools, private schools, and that's really forming networks on their own.
Really quite exciting to hear more about this collaborative effort, right? I can imagine that there must be parents at home or potential students who must be watching, or members of the media who need to share this messaging, thinking, hold on, I want to get into this action, so how do I download the app? How do I register? Are there certain processes that we need to follow, Kusile, Jackie?
So right from now we can go to www.ntnonlineschool.co.za, immediately go and register. It's a very, very quick registration process, and you'll immediately be able to set up your profile. From tomorrow morning, we'll have the app live in the Android store, so in Google Play, and then next week it'll be available in the Apple Store as well. And the app is certainly where the functionality is fantastic for mobile devices. We know that generally South Africans are comfortable with the apps. People download apps for everything these days, so we don't need to even just distinguish young people. Everybody is comfortable, so it's a really great user experience. But literally from today, they can go, they can register, and they can start setting up their profile. And that app will be an enormous change to their lives from tomorrow.
Definitely. Enormous change. And I know that parents are often quite curious and careful about what it is that their children are able to access. And Kusile, this is why we also need parents actively involved, if I'm not mistaken, to make sure that they actually monitor how it is that their children access this information.
So the parents really do get involved, because any learner who is less than 18 years old has to get a parent's consent for them to be able to log onto the platform. They will get involved, and they will have transparency to what the learner is actually logging into. But what is more important, the learner will also know that they have got a zero-rated data that is provisioned for their learning. And it's exciting for the parent, and the parent gets involved, because then they will know that they are not using their own data or network that they are needing. So it's important for the parents to be involved. They walk the journey with the learner while the learner is still at school, but over and above, in the process, they're also learning, because a lot of our parents, education left them behind. So we are encouraging them to learn from the platform as well.
Exactly. So no more complaints about you using up all my data, especially if it's on this platform. Minister, I would like to wrap it up with you. And as we can tell, it's been a refreshing conversation to see exactly how collaboration again remains at the nexus of the beauty of the launch of this particular app. I'm keen for you to close it off with us, to perhaps share your thoughts in terms of ongoing collaborative efforts with members of the private sector, educators, teachers and pupils, to really ensure that education remains a key priority, easily accessible, and of course able to reach all South Africans regardless of where they're based.
As a minister, I've been highly humbled by South African business, especially in difficult times. They've always come to the party. It's not the first program that we have with MTN, for instance, if I have to refer to them. We've been running teacher centers, which they had kit and really resourced completely. Our special schools, all of them, have been connected through the partnerships that we also have with the private sector, because it's quite difficult to teach, special schools, because the skills are limited, but also the ability to reach out. So they've bought us special devices. But what is also quite good is to bring the skills that we're an education department, we are trained as teachers, we're not ICT people, we're not ICT experts. And you have these experts that come from outside to really back up what you are doing. But for me, what is even better or even best with this program, it's working together. Because sometimes it's just difficult. We run a very big system, We have more than 26,000 schools. We're looking after 13 million learners. We employ more than 500,000 teachers. So if everyone is going to come with their little projects, they have projects in 10 schools there, they want you to run, the other one has 5, it can be also disruptive. But if a partner comes forward to say, let's sit down, where are you? Where do you think the gaps, how we can support you? It makes such a huge difference because it complements that which you're already doing. Yep. And this is how this project was conceived. We worked together all the way. It complements fully the way that we're doing. So for me, a collaborative exercise is more beneficial. I'm not dismissing other. They are helpful. You take your 10 schools, it does make a difference. But this one is going to impact the system. So we will be taking your presidential youth initiative. We've been given e-cadres. That's the first cohort I'm going to train so that next year we can run with this program. And simply because even the timing, the targeting has been worked together, so we're able to really benefit maximally. And as I say, I have to serve the whole 13 million, not the 10 schools that you choose. And this kind of initiative helps us to have the necessary impact and reach that we need as a national department.
Definitely. We know that it's a tough challenge, but one that can certainly be monitored by expanding more on the opportunities that have been highlighted here today. Godfrey touched on the infrastructure that is present right across the country and leveraging that infrastructure to make sure that we are able to access information and broaden that access to many more South Africans within the education system. Empowering teachers, not only them, but also with the right networks, infrastructure, tools and gadgets as well, in order to adequately educate South Africa's youth by making sure that they too interact from various provinces, various parts of the country to spread and further contribute to the knowledge landscape that we have in the country. Well, I think it's been a phenomenal conversation and really given us some insight into this particular launch of the MTN Online School. Looking forward to seeing how this does evolve and develop, and of course investing in a key area of our economy, which is in our people. So I'd like to thank my guests again for joining us in conversation today, the Honourable Minister Angie Motshekga, Godfrey, Jackie, and of course Siskhosile. Really appreciate your time today and looking forward to hearing more about the developments that take place here on the MTN Online School app. Well, you've heard about the school, you've seen some processes as to how to register, but we want to make sure that all of you do remember how to do that exactly for yourselves and, of course, future participants of the platform. So here's a gentle reminder as to how to register for the MTN Online School platform.
MTN, the Department of Basic Education, and To Enable have forged a partnership that helps learners and educators engage and share educational content. MTN's vision is to create a world-class learning portal that enables easy access and sharing of educational information that will drive effective teaching and learning in Africa. The platform is easily accessible to learners and educators, and it can be used to enrich classroom lessons. MTN Online School platform is available to public schools, special needs schools, and community centers. To register for MTN Online School is simple and straightforward. Open any browsing platform using a phone, tablet, or computer and go to www.mtnonlineschool.co.za. For first-time users, click on Register and fill in your details as provided by the platform. Remember, learners under the age of 18 will require parental consent to access the platform. Once you are registered, log in and accept all terms and conditions by ticking on the box. On the landing page, click on My Learning, choose New Course and select a grade and subjects to enroll in. Learners can take up on many subjects that are aligned with their learning needs. Once a subject and grade have been selected, click on View Course to begin your learning experience. Select a relevant topic of your choice and click on Begin to navigate the resource material. The available resources are MP4 videos, worksheets in PDF, and web links. The system allows learners to create notes and save them for future use. After going through the course content, take a quiz to evaluate the level of comprehension and competency. Keep in mind that assessments are typed and negatively marked, which discourages learners from guessing answers. The platform offers instant marking, allowing learners to get their marks immediately after the assessments. The platform tailor-makes revision as directed by results from quizzes. The result portfolio keeps a record of all attempted assessments. On the landing page, there is another section labeled the calendar. This site allows learners to participate and engage in live recorded sessions with educators scheduled for any specific subject. It allows learners and educators to interact with each other and exchange information through messaging. There you have it. You are now registered as a user. Start your learning journey with MTN Online School.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Well, it's often said that you need to keep it simple, and that's exactly what we've seen through the use of this particular platform, making it easy, interactive, giving the students exactly what it is that they're used to in terms of interacting and gaining some knowledge, but this time really extrapolating information that will work for their benefit. Well, we want to go back to see exactly how these students might have experienced this unique platform. So let's go back to Looney to find out what the experience was like. Looney?
Gugu, I'm now standing with some of the learners. We've just watched the live lesson. I just want to see how they're feeling, what they think about this online platform. So let's chat to them. Hello, what's your name?
My name is Lesego Molete.
Nice to meet you, Lesego. So tell me, how do you feel this online learning platform is going to change the way you learn?
I feel very excited because it's going to help me improve my work of school and it's going to help me with many subjects.
That's great to hear. And here we are with?
Dimakatso.
And which grade are you in?
Grade 10.
That's great to hear. Dimakatso, tell me, would you recommend this platform to your friends, and what's the best part about this platform that you've enjoyed so far?
Yes, I would recommend, and the best thing is that I don't have to read from a book anymore. I can just watch videos from it, yeah.
That's great to hear. And next to me, who do I have? Nice to meet you. And tell me, with this online platform, what educational information have you been able to access?
Well, I've been able to access the PDFs they provide, live broadcasts, and you can even ask questions when you don't understand.
How cool is that?
That's very cool.
And last but not least, we are with?
The name is Zola Kito, but you can call me Zoki, ma'am.
Oh, hi, Zoki. And tell me, with the subjects that we have on this platform, which ones are your favorite?
I would recommend physical science, maths, literacy, pure maths, and fun reading books.
That's amazing. As you can hear, Gugu, the kids are excited about MTN Online School, just like I am. Thank you so much, and over to you.
Well, did you hear that? Physical science, maths, pure maths. So clearly making all these, what might have been perceived to be difficult subjects, a lot more easier to access and understand for students there. Well, we've unpacked how it is that the students really feel about the platform and have interacted with it. But Looney also had the chance to catch up with a key educator at the Ruta Setšhaba Secondary School, Mrs. Alina Mazibuko, who's the head of physical sciences at the school. She gave us some insight as to how she found the online platform and what it really means not only for the scholars at the school, but the larger education and community of Everton at large.
Mrs. Mazibuko, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us. Just a few questions for you. MTN Online School, what does it mean for education?
Thank you for having me. MTN Online Education, it says a lot, it changed a lot for the school, especially I saw it last year during COVID, whereby learners don't come to school every day, whereby we chat with them on WhatsApp, and at times you'd like to see them virtually. So I think it's going to help a lot, whereby if an educator is not at school, then he or she can communicate with his learners when they are at school. This is I'm so thrilled by this on MTN Online, and I think our school is very fortunate to have you, MTN, as the sponsor.
Thank you so much, Mama. And tell us, what does this mean for the school in particular, and also just the area that you guys are situated in?
The area that we are situated in, as you can see, it's a bit disadvantaged. But because they love technology, our learners, our community love technology, they take care of these technological things that we have. And especially since MTN has given us this lab, this beautiful lab, they take good care of it. It means a lot because the community also comes and we help them with the CVs, whatever researches that they have.
Thank you, Mama.
So not only helping the students themselves with their curricula, as well as making sure they access educational information, but the community at large as well with their efforts to further upskill themselves and, of course, seek employment opportunities. I think it's quite clear that the name Ruta Setšhaba goes beyond just the title of the school, but also goes to be a practical example of what it is that this collaborative effort aims to achieve in really and truly educating the nation. Well, we're almost done with our live stream for today, but we want to go back just to check in one last time with Luni and the class who had the chance to experience the MTN online platform to really give us their final feedback as to just how exciting they might have found this online school.
Thank you so much, Gugu. It's been such an amazing day. We really enjoyed ourselves, and just watching the kids learn and watch the live session was such a treat. Thank you, MTN, for this initiative, and the kids have one more thing to say to you.
Thank you, MTN!
The joys of youth, right? And of course, I guess a clear message from the students as to how this has changed their life. And again, a positive indicator of the impact that it really is having on the ground. But before we wrap up this morning's proceedings, I'm now joined by the chairman of the MTN SA Foundation, Dr. Musibudi Mangena, for his closing remarks on this critical launch of the MTN Online School.
Well, thank you, Gugu. I feel like jumping with joy as those children were doing, because this day is a culmination of many months of hard work on the part of the MTN and MTN Foundation and the team that is in the foundation that has been working together with partners in education and other partners who are involved in education as well. You know, MTN has been involved in partnership with the Department of Education for a very long time. And there was a period when we were focused on providing computer laboratories to our schools. But then there came the pandemic. It disrupted everything. And those computers were sitting idle because both the learners and the teachers could not go to school. And you can imagine the frustration that we had as MTN with that equipment and with that knowledge that we had imparted on the trainers and other people who were helping us. And this development, the launch of this platform, MTN Online School, means that our learners and our teachers can continue with learning and teaching everywhere, pandemic or no pandemic. And we believe that it is also a leveler in the sense that whether our kids are in the villages or they are in the townships or they are in suburbs, anywhere where they are, they can log in free of charge. As you might have heard that the portal has been 0 rated, so they can log in and they can continue with their education. And this is just fantastic. And today, as the MTN Foundation, we are elated with this development, and we hope that there will be an uptake from our learners and our teachers, and we can only expand and move on from where we are now. As you might have heard from the panels, the panelists who are here, the development is ongoing, and we hope that this marks a big, big jump in the education process in our country. Thank you very much.
Well, I think no better way to close it off on following the feedback that we've had from the chairman of the MTN SA Foundation, Mr. Mangena, giving us some insight that naturally we will continue to evolve and adapt. And we've had to do so, rightfully so, within the last 18 months, where the pandemic has made things uncomfortable, shifted the narrative as to how it is that we improve and increase access, and digital and technology has certainly come across as a key enabler to ensure that not only are we connected, but able to continue in our personal and self-development, which also then results in increased productivity, which can only have positive outcomes for our economy and the livelihoods of South Africans. Well, we trust that you've enjoyed this initial launch of the MTN Online School, really democratizing access and providing an opportunity for many more South Africans to upskill themselves, improve their lives, access quality education, and of course continue with their learning regardless of whether we find ourselves in a pandemic or back to a new sense of normality. Well, we're grateful for your time today and certainly look forward to hearing more of your feedback as to how many of you might have logged onto the platform, interacted, and of course even shared your own thoughts about how best we can continue to enhance the MTN Online School. As we continue to look at engaging in collaborative efforts, we thank you for your time and will continue to grow from strength to strength in making sure that we create a South Africa that we can all be proud of. Thank you so much for joining us for this launch of the MTN Online School. From myself, Gugulethu Mfuphi, and the team, go safe and take care.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Thank you.